The movie kicks off with Lorenzo Vitali, a tough Sicilian, cruising down to his vineyard with his grandson. But hold on to your hats, because as they pull up, what do they see? Dead bodies strewn everywhere. Lorenzo, not one to shy away from action, tells his grandson to stay put as he investigates. Following the bloody trail, Lorenzo comes face to face with Robert Machall, held captive by two of his own men. Lorenzo's both impressed and a tad terrified by Robert's handiwork. "What are you doing here, knowing full well who I am?" Lorenzo demands. Robert coolly replies, "I've got business with you." Lorenzo, not one to back down, throws down the gauntlet, daring Robert to take what he wants. But Robert's got a countdown ticking 9 seconds to be exact. Lorenzo scoffs, but before he knows it, chaos erupts as Robert swiftly takes out everyone in the room and snags the keys from Lorenzo. Talk about a speedy heist. As Robert makes his getaway, he bumps into Lorenzo's plucky grandson, who's not about to let this stranger waltz off scot-free. Quick as a flash, the kid strikes, injuring Robert and making a break for it. Undeterred, Robert hits the road, only to get blindsided near Alimonte, Italy. Lucky for him, a friendly cop named Gio comes to the rescue, hauling him off to Dr. Enzo for some patching up. Enzo, skilled as they come, digs the bullet out of Robert's hide and cooks up a clever cover story about a little tumble. The next morning, Robert wakes up to Enzo's probing question. "Are you a good man?" But Robert's got no easy answers. "I don't know," he admits. On the third day of his unexpected stay in Alimonte, Robert's feeling a tad sprightly. Thanks to the skilled hands of Dr. Enzo, he's up and about, hobbling around with an old cane that belonged to Enzo's pops. As he steps out into the sunshine, Enzo reminds him to take it easy on his still healing wound. Robert saunters into town, craving a little pick-me-up at a cozy cafe. But things take an unexpected turn when the waitress, Amina, slips him a cup of coffee instead of the tea he ordered. Why the mix-up? Well, turns out Robert's the only black fellow around these parts, and folks here aren't exactly used to diversity. But Robert takes it in stride, giving his coffee a good stir. Just then, in walks Gio, the friendly neighborhood cop, with his daughter Gabby in tow. Gabby dashes off to chat with Amina, leaving Gio to fill Robert in on the local scene. Turns out, folks here are as sweet as pie, and Enzo's practically a legend for bringing half the town into the world. Plus, Gio hands over Robert's car keys, assuring him he didn't snoop through his stuff. As if that's not enough, Gabby swings back by, bearing a batch of homemade cookies as a parting gift. Meanwhile, Robert's got his own agenda. He's been trying to get a hold of a gal named Emmy Collins over at the CIA Financial Operations Center. But when Robert refuses to spill the beans about himself, Collins brushes off Enzo's intel about some shady arms deal going down in Sicily. But Robert's not one to give up easily. He circles back to Collins, dropping enough knowledge about the situation to pique her interest. Impressed, he hangs up before she can trace his call. With that, Robert ditches his cell phone and drifts back into his memories, haunted by the grisly aftermath of his recent showdown at the vineyard. Robert's just minding his own business at a cozy restaurant, hungry for a bite to eat. But his appetite takes a backseat when he spots a thug shaking down some per soul for cash. Shrugging off the drama, Robert settles in, starting to feel more at home in this quirky little town. Looks like the feeling's mutual. The locals are starting to warm up to him, finally serving him that long-awaited cup of tea. But as Robert strolls past Angelo's fish stand, things take a dark turn. He catches sight of Marco and his crew laying into poor Angelo, their fists flying as they demand their pound of flesh. Robert's no stranger to trouble, but even he can't turn a blind eye to this brutality. He stands by, listening in horror as Angelo takes a beating right there in his own shop. Once Marco's had his fill of violence, he spots Robert lurking outside and shoots him a warning glance before slinking off. After that, Gio leaves Alimonte to see his elder brother, Vincent, head honcho of the infamous Camorra mob family. Vincent's got his own problems, though. He's in the midst of a tense negotiation over a prime piece of real estate for his swanky hotel. But when the owners refuse to play ball, Vincent doesn't take it lying down. In a chilling display of power, his men off his partner's old man, leaving his corpse dangling as a grim warning to anyone else thinking of crossing him. Poor Marco's left shaking in his boots, but Vincent's not one for sympathy. He reminds Marco who's the boss, ordering him to toe the line and stay out of the family's more delicate affairs. Meanwhile, over in Sicily, Colin and her crack team are turning up the heat at the vineyard. They stumble upon a stash of drugs and a boatload of cash, sparking their curiosity. But it's the telltale prints on the weapons that really pique their interest. As they dig deeper, they uncover a chilling truth. There's a terrorist plot brewing, and it's way bigger than they ever imagined. As the investigation heats up, Frank's feeling the pressure. He knows they've got to act fast to stop any more innocent lives from getting caught in the crossfire. He bids Collins farewell, urging her to keep him in the loop. Meanwhile, Vincent's cooking up some big plans of his own. He lays down the law to Marco, ordering him to squeeze Alimonte dry for every last penny as he has bigger plans for Alimonte. Just as Robert's packing up to hit the road, he's hit with a bombshell. Marco's gone and torched Angelo's shop. It's chaos as folks scramble to put out the flames, but Robert's not about to let this slide. He rolls up his sleeves and pitches in to help Angelo rebuild, earning himself some serious street cred in the process. Looks like he's officially part of the gang now. In the meantime, Gio checks the CCTV footage of how Marco set up Angelo's shop and informs his authorities about it. But there's more to life in Alimonte than just fixing up burnout shops. Amina, the eagle-eyed waitress, spots Robert and decides it's high time he got a taste of the town's real flavors. The two spend the evening sampling everything from savory to sweet, bonding over their shared love of good grub. The next day, Robert's back at Amina's joint when he catches Collins snooping around. She's got questions, but Robert's playing it cool. He ain't about to spill his secrets to just anyone. Collins, intrigued by this mysterious stranger, lets slip that she's keeping tabs on him from now on. Meanwhile, over at Gabby's school, Joe's world comes crashing down when he learns his daughter's been snatched up. He rushes home, only to find Marco and his goons lying in wait. It's a brutal beatdown for Gio, a punishment for sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. Seeking solace, Gio turns to Enzo for help with his wounds. Robert spots him leaving injured. But as he chats, Enzo drops a bombshell of his own. The Camorra mob ain't just some run-of-the-mill gang, they're a disease, spreading pain and suffering wherever they go. Robert's strolling past the church when who does he bump into but Collins, the CIA hotshot. She's on a mission to dig up dirt on Enzo, but he's proving to be one tough nut to crack. Instead of trading jabs, they decide to team up. Enzo's got a burning question. Why'd the terrorists pick Sicily as their drug hub? Collins takes the challenge and vows to get to the bottom of it. Later that same day, Joe's out for a bite with his fam when Marco and his goons crash the party. Marco's got Gio in his sights, but Robert's not about to stand by and watch. He stares Marco down, refusing to be intimidated. Marco struts over, trying to rile him up, but Robert's done playing nice. He lays down the law, letting Marco know he's not afraid of him or his cronies. Things take a dark turn when Marco tries to get the upper hand, but Robert's not one to back down. In a tense showdown, Robert comes out on top, sending Marco packing with his tail between his legs. But Marco's not one to let sleeping dogs lie. He's waiting outside the hotel, itching for revenge. Unfortunately for him, Robert's not about to roll over and play dead. In a swift move, Robert takes out Marco and his crew, putting an end to their reign of terror. The next day, Gio makes a chilling discovery. Marco's lying dead in a van, surrounded by packets of drugs. Meanwhile, Emma's catching some Z's when Frank bursts in, asking her to flip on the TV. She is both stunned to see news of a blast rocking the headlines. Frank's got a hunch that the Syrians are using dirty money to fund their terror plots, and Collins confirms their suspicions. But there's a twist. The money man's closer than they think. Collins pulls out all the stops, meeting with the head honcho of the police force to get the green light for her investigation. He's wary but eventually gives her the thumbs up, with one glaring exception. Emma's persistence pays off as she grills the prisoner for info, leading the CIA straight to the terrorists' hideout. But as Marco's laid to rest, tensions run high. The police chief rolls up on Vincent's turf with a stern warning. The CIA's sniffing around, and Collins ain't one to underestimate. But Vincent's not about to back down. He is enraged upon hearing this and cuts of Chief's hand, after he back up to cover things for them. Vincent then sends the chief packing with a gruesome reminder of who's really in charge. Meanwhile, Robert teams up with Gio to crack the case wide open. They uncover the Camorra's dirty dealings. He informs Collins about it and asks her to be careful, but then disaster strikes. Collins' car explodes, leaving her badly injured. With Vincent tightening his grip on the town, Robert faces a gut-wrenching choice: surrender himself or watch Gio pay the price. But just when all seems lost, Enzo steps in, rallying the townsfolk to stand against Vincent's tyranny. As tensions reach a boiling point, Vincent's left reeling. His pals dig up nothing on Robert, leaving him doubting his next move. Little does he know, Robert's got a deadly plan of his own. Under cover of darkness, Robert pays Vincent a visit, taking out his crew one by one in a chilling showdown. But the real battle's just begun, and Robert's ready to take on whatever comes his way. Vincent's in for a rude awakening when a drop of blood and a dead body come crashing through his ceiling. Talk about a wake-up call. With fear pumping through his veins, he fires blindly, but Robert's one step ahead, knocking him out cold. As Vincent comes to, he's desperate for answers, but Robert's got a grim ultimatum: 6 minutes till he dies, revealing he has poisoned him with the overdose of his own drugs. Vincent's left to face his demons as Robert shadows him till the bitter end, his life slipping away with each passing moment. The next morning, Collins tunes into the news, stunned to hear of Vincent's demise and the CIA's triumph in foiling a terrorist plot. But her shock turns to surprise when Robert saunters in, carrying a hefty bag of cash. Turns out, it belongs to Greg Dyer, a victim of cyber theft who's lost his life savings. Robert's on a mission to right that wrong and return the stolen money. As Collins digs deeper, she discovers the true extent of Robert's journey. What started as a quest for justice has morphed into something much bigger, saving countless lives in the process. With Greg reunited with his cash, Collins pays a visit to the grateful old couple, moved by their plight. But there's one more surprise in store for her: a mysterious parcel from Frank containing a black diary and a note hinting at her mother's pride. As she gazes at her mother's photo, a startling revelation dawns. She's the daughter of Robert's best friend, Susan. Meanwhile, Robert's settling into life in Alimonte, joining in the jubilant celebrations as the local football team clinches victory. And with that, the curtain falls on our tale of redemption and resilience.